Hello everybody, this is Graham, also known as Collector75. Welcome back to part 15, I think, because I'm filming this exactly the same time as the last part. And so yeah, I'm pretty certain this is 15, but if it's not, you'll find out in the title above the page. Anyway, we're continuing here with issues 143 to 151. Right, so we're starting here, issue number 143, cover date the 12th of December 1987. And we can see this lovely, it's quite a good cover actually. And you can see this giant claw about to grab Blastoff, coming from the Ark. There it is, but we've got this one called Space Hikers. And we can see the first appearance of Skylynx. And I believe what is happening here is Skylynx has been travelling from Cybertron, I believe. I can't remember this one. We're going to wing this one, I think. You can see we've got the Autobots aboard the Ark with Autobot leader Grimlock. Basically they're searching for Blastoff, who has all the children on board, blah 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 blah. I believe this one is about to catch up with the events of the last issue, being pursued by the Ark, and basically they managed to get them aboard eventually. Here we go, you can see them being picked up there. And most of the, well, you can see Wheeljack saying, oh, don't worry about the humans, but Grimlock ain't having none of it. They got rid of Blaster, it seems, in space, and eventually Grimlock says that they're going to terminate the humans unless Blaster gives himself up, which he sort of does in the end. It's a very strange issue, this one. Anyway, this is Grimgrams, and another last part of Love and Steel, I believe. We've got Galen trapped there at the behest of Zarak. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I mean, I can't really remember what happens in any of these storylines. They just, I don't know. Anyway, we've got the rest of the Decepticons. You can see Zarak there getting really into basically being an evil bastard with all this weaponry and everything with Scorponok. And he is basically now Scorponok. He's hunting down the rest of the Autobots. And we can see they've just invented the Target Masters. Right, so here we go. That was Robo Capers. About to come to an end soon. So move on to issue number 144. And it says, if you want something done properly, you just got to do it yourself. And then we can see there. And this is where they basically say to Blaster that the humans are guilty, and if they don't basically give himself up, because he's aboard Skylynx, the humans will be tossed out into space, which I think they do anyway, but Skylynx saves them, and I think he in the end gives himself up anyway, eventually. I can't remember exactly why. Probably a dull reason, if you want my opinion. Yep, there we go. And he says, oh, I surrender. And that's it. And that's it. That was the end of that storyline, really. Believe me, not a lot to it. We have Grimgrams. And we've got an advert for the Headmaster. We've got Robo Capers. And here we go. The competition results for the annuals. Oh dear. We've got Brothers in Armour, Part 2, with the Target Masters being formed. And they are now going to take on the Decepticon Headmasters. And they probably also get repelled. I believe they then free the... Actually, no, I believe it's Zarak. He frees the Autobot Headmasters because he knows what's going to happen to Nebulos if he doesn't. The Decepticons will basically ravage Nebulos, and he knows the Autobots are the only saviour. So while his mind is clear, he basically just frees them up, because he knows that soon he will be engulfed by Scorponok's personality. Even though then, by the end of the Transformers run, they come to an amalgamation of it, and Scorponok actually becomes quite a nice Decepticon, if you can believe that. But he does, and it's not a cheesy thing either. It's actually quite well done. And then next issue, we've got a nice classified there, a nice list of comic shops. I never actually went to. I never realised about comics when I was sort of like this age getting these. Not until a few years later. Yep, so we've got the next issue. And we've got an advert there for the annuals. And then we've got, as the tradition goes, we've got a nice Christmas issue. If I can pick the bloody thing up. Here we go. This is Christmas 1987. And we've got a nice issue featuring Starscream, who's just woken up from being put in that stasis chamber way back at the end of Target 2006. And he's just wondering about, he used to love being a bastard and everything, but now he just can't be bothered. He says, normally I'll kill this human here, but he can't be bothered. So this human just basically says he's going to show him the meaning of Christmas and stuff like that. And as it goes on, he gets Starscream to help some people that are stuck in the ice. Streetwise can't believe it. And he says, well, I was going to help him, but they end up in a fight. And he says, oh, I don't believe you. And so Starscream helps him, and Swindle just can't believe it. And anyway, they all say, thanks Starscream, and at the end Starscream says, oh, bye, and Merry Christmas, kid. Bit of a strange storyline, that one. But then again, it was a Christmas issue, and these Christmas stories were always a little bit weird. But we've got Grimgrams, we've got Brothers in Armour, part 4. This is coming to the end now. I believe this might even be the last part. So we've got Zarak there, has freed the Autobot headmasters, and he knows. And he goes, no, stay, must escape, get away from me, Laura. What's wrong, Father? No, it's too late. And he realises what he's done, he's freed them. And now we've got the Decepticon Target Masters with Cyclonus and Scourge. What are they doing in this timeline? Well, we're going to find out pretty soon. It was never explained away in the US comic at all, but we're going to get an explanation from the UK comic. And that's it. The Autobots and Decepticons now head towards Earth, leaving Nebulos to rebuild after the Transformers. And there we go. And then we've got the next issue back at strip is Iron Man. Could never get into that. An epic new year. Fantastic storyline coming along. And we've got the Robo Capers. Christmas on Robot World. Yep. And now we're back with issue 146, starting a fantastic storyline. I'm not going to tell you the storyline because obviously this was a surprise back then. You had to wait until the final page. But we can see the return of Deathshead, and now he's tracking down Cyclonus and Scourge, just like he was basically paid to by Rodimus Prime a few issues ago. And he's tracked them down to the planet of Junk. And some great fight sequences here. We see a great picture of Deathshead there, and he takes, basically, destroys everyone. I love some of these fight scenes, they're absolutely brilliant. Takes them all down, whacks Cyclonus around the head with his mace. And it's a bait because now to finish the job, and then it says, basically, then this Junkion appears out of nowhere and says, basically, oh, you've got to help me. We're the most richest, one of the richest nations, well, sort of like planets. If you'll help me, but you might need them alive to help you. And he says he'll pay him anything, because someone has sort of like taken over Junk, and he needs to get rid of them. And he says, all right. And as you can see, the Autobots there are heading back, well, saying goodbye to Retgar is on his way back to the planet of Junk, because this is, of course, set in the year 2007, I believe. Sorry, I was supposed to mention that before. So, never mind. And as you can see, he says goodbye to him there. And Deathshead now with this little Junkion, and with Cyclonus and Scourge now helping him, because they know he'll kill him if he don't. So basically he says, you know what to do. And he goes, yep, and after that we're free, right? And he goes, yes, of course. And he goes, bad for future business not to want an agreed contract. Best to betray Cyclonus and Scourge and hunt them down anyway, yes? Good old Deathshead. That's the best Deathshead. Right. So anyway, then Cyclonus and Scourge transform and attack whatever's holding the planet of Junk hostage. And we can see then that's it. Now there's a distraction. Deathshead moves into place, about to attack him, but then the Junkion says, no, he was toying with us. And you just see a massive thing, bang. And suddenly something has ensnared Deathshead's mind. And you can see, and there's also ensnared Cyclonus and Scourge, and they start looking up. And of course, and they find out the being that has enslaved Junk is, of course, Unicron, who's basically head after Transformers the movie just floated towards Junk and is now getting all the Junkions to build him a new body out of the planet of Junk. And we're now this. Oh, that's great. Anyway, we've got Iron Man. I could never get into it, so don't ask me what the storyline's about. And then we've got first the Shock, now the Shockwave, as the second part of Unicron's plan springs into action. Here we go. So issue number 147. With the ensnared minds of Cyclonus and Scourge and Deathshead, though Deathshead manages to try and free himself slightly, Deathshead now brings to Shockwave the bodies of Cyclonus and Scourge, basically. And he says, well, I'll pay you the money once I'm sure they are dead. So he gets Soundwave to sweep the room. And of course Soundwave is going to find out that they're alive, and just as he says, Deathshead is already preparing to kill Shockwave and has already moved. And then basically we just have a fight between Shockwave and Deathshead, and says, I knew what you were doing, I moved as soon as your back was turned, Deathshead. And then of course Cyclonus and Scourge have recovered it and are taking care of any resistance, while Deathshead hunts down Shockwave. And of course the Autobots have just returned to the planet of Junk to help Retgar get back to his own people, but they've just found out that Unicron is on and enslaved the whole planet, which isn't good. And then we just have Shockwave hunting down Shockwave. And to cut a long story short, after a good pitched battle, we have the Decepticons about to break into the actual room, and they both know that once they get in they're dead, because they'll basically, we've got Menasor on the other side, a bit small there when you usually see him, but that's about the right size if you had the toys. So anyway, eventually Deathhead gets the better of Shockwave and blasts him and basically kills him and crushes his actual memory box, whatever you want to call it. And just before the Decepticons execute Cyclonus and Scourge, Deathhead barges in and basically says that they're all dead, plus he's basically got a massive, I don't know, explosive device, and if he doesn't crown Cyclonus and Scourge leader of the Decepticons, then he'll detonate it, killing everyone. So they do, and Cyclonus and Scourge are now acting Decepticon leaders, basically, even though their minds are ensnared by Unicron, and so Unicron is now leader of the Decepticons, and he's got a plan. And so we move on to Iron Man. Nice advert for Weetabix there. I'm not going to show you the next issue thing, because now we move on to issue number 148. You have Cyclonus and Scourge, now leaders of the Decepticons, instigate a massive all-out war on Cybertron. And they know, well, Rodimus Prime can guess that it's just going to decimate all of Cybertron, but this is part of Unicron's plan. With the decimated Cybertron, once he gets his body back, the Transformers won't stand a chance against him. And that's basically it. But now, was it one of the ensnared minds of the Junkions has found them, and so he thinks he had to kill him, but he hates killing his own people, but he knows it's for greater good. Deathhead, on the other hand, is trying to resist all manner of psychic conditioning by Unicron, and he's going to come into play in a little later date, but then he finds out that the Autobots are on junk, so he gets Deathhead to go and find them. But here we go, as you can see, he got Wreck-Gar here. Unicron wants Deathhead to execute him, but he manages to break his hold, allowing Wreck-Gar to escape. And Deathhead, and he says the punishment begins. He starts to punish him, but he knows it's a small victory, but it's a start, because Deathhead can defy Unicron's grip. As we move on to some next issues, we've got Smokescreen takes the hard fall, more Robo Capers. And we move on to number 149, only 3 issues to go in this storyline. Here we go. So Smokescreen and I believe Inferno are rushing back to Cybertron to warn the Autobots that Unicron is still alive, but it's pursued by Cyclonus and Scourge. And as they get there, I believe Smokescreen gets thrown out the thing and Inferno kills himself by trying to take as many Decepticons with him, just so he can deliver the message. And that's it, basically. And that's it. He goes, "Make suits of my person remain undetected here on junk." And he goes, "Undetected, half frightened of Prime, yes? Frightened that the creation matrix carriers can destroy you, eh?" And it shows just exactly what he's building. He's got a time portal. And he goes, eventually goes, what he'll do is go backwards, put his hand through the time portal and pluck Galvatron from the current timeline and bring him back here because he wants him. And then we've basically got just Smokescreen telling you about what's going on. And that now basically they're going to attack Unicron on junk. And there we go, now he goes, "I defy you, Unicron, yes," and he starts killing everybody, because now he's figured out a way to try and defeat Unicron by moving on to the astral plane and going directly into Unicron's mind. So there we have it, setting up for the big issue 150 with the origin of the Transformers. This was the first ever origin, telling of the origin of the Transformers, and it is a great wraparound cover with Unicron and Primus. Well, I suppose it's actually Hot Rod really, but it's supposed to be Primus. So I got mine signed by Simon Furman when I was at an auto assembly a few years ago. Fantastic cover. Here we go, you've got Wreck-Gar laying explosives underneath the head of Unicron. Meanwhile, Deathhead has entered the mind of Unicron to try and find a weakness. And he decides that basically he's going to reward him for such an audacious move by showing him the origin of Unicron. And so we move on, and we find that Unicron was once an energy being, and he was lord of the dark gods, and then the universe basically created a protector called Primus. Was it Primus? Yes, it was Primus. Who then took on, but unfortunately as he was trying to protect the universe, he found that all the worlds that he sought to protect were being destroyed, so he moved on to the astral plane. And unfortunately, he didn't fare no better there. Unicron was just too strong. So basically, Primus then decided to head back to the real world through a portal in the astral plane, and Unicron blindly followed in. Unfortunately, instead of materialising back in their energy forms, he made them materialise in 2 barren pieces of space junk, and sealed the path back to the astral plane so they could never escape. And there they stayed for millennia. Unicron managed to reshape after thousands of millions of trillions of years, managed to reshape his prison into the body we know and adore and love as Unicron. But he made it able to basically move between forms, a planet and a robot form, resembling his old energy form. Primus, however, on the other hand, knew that to do the same would result in basically the same thing that's happened before. So he created a populated world, and populated with new life, able to mimic Unicron's abilities, and instilled his own essence into a genetic matrix that would be sort of like basically carried from leader to leader until the day it would needed. And of course it was in Transformers the movie. And so there we have it. But now he says, "Be gone from my mind," because he just realised the Autobots have turned up and now starting to attack him. And he says, "Wipe them out." And he says, "I am not your slave." And basically then Unicron tries blasting him. Unfortunately, where Retgar is underneath him, it blasts him instead and traps him. Ready for the next issue. And so we have Grimgrams, Iron Man, and it goes after the beginning, the ending. Right, so we move on to the last part, which is issue number 151. Here we go, let me get it straight. There we go, side by side against Unicron. And there we go, great picture of Unicron there, firing his eye lasers at the Autobots. Basically now they're just attacking him while Retgar is trapped underneath with a load of explosives, already set to go off in 5 minutes. Basically he summons Cyclonus and Scourge back from Cybertron and the war to try and defend him. And they say, well, they're cutting out, so let's retreat. And the Autobots think they're won. But here we go, and Deathshead basically tells Rodimus Prime what he's learned in Unicron's mind, and so basically he offers a way to win. And he says he tricked him, yes, and so he got him, and then he pushes Rodimus Prime into the astral plane to take on Galvatron. Unfortunately, it doesn't work, but he does release the power of the Matrix, I believe. Oh no, he doesn't. He basically takes him out, but he says now the Cyclonus and Scourge have just turned up, so he goes, I'll finish things here, yes. And the explosion starts coming off after basically Deathshead did save Retgar underneath the ground. But now with the time portal activated, Deathshead hurls himself and Cyclonus and Scourge into the time portal, and it goes, "One chance, kill you both another time," yes, literally. And basically it transports, and basically Unicron gets destroyed. Epilogue, well, the postscript is, Unicron's time portal carried Cyclonus and Scourge back into Cybertron's past, where they came under the command of the Decepticon leader known as Scorponok. But of Deathshead, there was no trace. But we shall see what happens to Unicron, Deathshead in fact. And then we just have Iron Man. And then we go into the next issue, which is another UK story, which is featuring Galvatron. And then we have Robocapers. And then on the last page we have a nice advert for Action Force. Well, I hope you like this review, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.